Okay, so we're going to go through the IBCP and the Btech. They are two different things, but Btech is part of the IBCP, so that's why they kind of go together. So just to start with, things that you need to know, being very slow. A Btech is a vocational course, and that's part of the IBCP. So the IBCP is a career-related program. That's what the CP stands for, career-related program. And the Btech is the career-related aspect of it that we do. So other schools all around the world do different things, but WSO does the Btech as the career-related focus of the IBCP course. The IBCP course is no less demanding than the IBDP course. They're very different in what students do, but it doesn't mean it's an easier qualification, because it absolutely is not an easier qualification. The IBCP is a vocational qualification. So if your child isn't sure what career path they might want to take, it's probably not the way forward, because what you do in the IBCP is you specialize in a specific career area. So at WSO, we have business, creative media, sport, performing arts, and music production. So if your child isn't sure what they want to do, this probably isn't the pathway for them, because this is setting them up on that career pathway, because that's what their focus will be for their post-16 studies. Something you do need to be aware of, and is one of the attractions of a Btech, is that the Btech has no exams in it. So the Btech qualification, which is part of the CP, has no exams. If you do this full CP course, you'll still do DP subjects, so you will still have to do exams for those, but the biggest chunk, the Btech course, doesn't have any exams. Okay, so this is a bit of an overview of the IBCP. So the IBCP consists of the Btech. You do 2 diploma program courses. So in the IBDP, if you've been to that session, which you haven't because it's not till tomorrow, the IBDP program, you do 6 IB subjects. With the IBCP, you do 2 IB subjects plus your Btech. And you do what's called the IBCP core, which are extra bits to make a more rounded individual for when they apply to university and enter the world of work. There's some little stats there on the left-hand side in the pink. For some reason, it won't let me do the presentation version of it. Oh, yeah, it will. There we go. Last year, 3,185 students completed the IBCP around the world. It is a relatively new qualification. It only came out in 2014, so it's not like A-levels and IBDP that have been around forever. It is quite a new qualification. It is recognised by universities around the world, and we will touch on that later. But it is quite a new qualification as far as qualifications go. So we also do other combinations to cater for lots of different students and their different abilities and what they want to do. So we do the IBCP, which is the full program, which is the Btech, 2 DP subjects and the core. You can also do a Btech and 1 DP subject. You can do a Btech alongside an A-level. You can do a Btech alongside the EPQ, which I'll go through in a minute. And you can also do a Btech alongside different qualifications, such as functional skills that we do. So hopefully you can see that the IBCP and Btech route is a very flexible path that we offer all of our students. So just to recap the different subjects you can do for the career-related study for the Btech. So the course that your students will be doing from year 12, if they're starting this year in September 2020, is a brand new international qualification that's been created by Pearson. So Pearson are an exam board. You might know them as EdExcel. They own EdExcel. They've created a new qualification. So they're the only company that run Btech. It's their qualification. And this year they're starting a new qualification, especially for the international market, called a Level 3 International Btech. And we're going to run them in business, creative media, performing arts, and performing arts comes in 3 different specialities: acting, dance, and musical theatre. Ideally, that your student needs to be able to do 2 out of those 3 because you have to overlap them. We do music production and sports coaching and development. As I said, there are no exams in Btech. All of that work is internally assessed. It is verified, so there's lots of quality control. So we have Pearson examiners fly over from the UK to inspect and assess our processes and procedures, but it's not, they don't sit in an exam hall and do any exams. A Btech is equivalent to 3 international A-levels. So if your child does the extended diploma Btech, which is the highest qualification that they all start on, that is the equivalent to 3 international A-levels. So it's a huge qualification on its own. That's why we offer it on its own as well. The 2 DP subjects, which are part of the IBCP, run alongside the Btech. So if your student chooses to do the IBCP, they'll do a Btech, 2 DP subjects, and the core elements. They have to do all of those things and pass all of those things to get the IBCP qualification. Now, the reason that we offer this variety is that for some students, that's too much. It's either too much pressure, too much stress, too much time, or they don't want to do all of those things. So some students only want to do creative media. They don't want to have to do 2 more subjects and write a 3,000-word essay and a 1,000-word reflection and do a language and do PPS. So that's why we do a mixture of different options to suit the students that we have within WSO. So the way that we timetable our BTECs alongside the DP subjects is shown on this beautiful, pretty pink graph here. So if you're doing a business BTEC, they're the subjects you can choose from. Ooh. Come on. Sorry about that. If you're doing the business BTEC, you'll see at the top, they're the subjects that students can choose from. So they do 2 out of those 4. For creative media, performing arts and music production, they can choose 2 out of those 4. And at the bottom for the sport BTEC, they can choose 2 out of those 4. You can only do 1 in each of those columns, and they need 2 overall. And that's a timetabling thing. So that's how it will go. So for example, you can't do business and then do something out of the group 3. However, group 3 and group 6 are duplicated slightly. So they could then do something out of those. That was a bad example. They can't do what's missing, group 2. So if you're doing business BTEC, you can't do a language other than your development language in language development. Same for creative media, performing arts, music production. They can't do anything out of 4 and 5s. They can't do any sciences, and they can't do any maths. That's another reason some students choose not to do the IBDP if they don't like maths or aren't very good at it, or they don't like English or they aren't very good at it. You have to do both of those things still in IBDP. You don't have to do them in IBCP. If they want to go down the BTEC and A-level route, you can do the BTEC plus 1 A-level, and they're the options you can choose from. So for business BTEC, you can choose out of those 3 blocks. For creative media, performing arts and music, you can choose out of those 3 blocks. And for sport and development, you can choose out of 4 different blocks. Again, this is for students who know what they want to do. They know the chunk of the BTEC they want to do, the vocational side of it, but they want to do an extra bit of qualification. Now, when students go to apply to university in the UK, that's done on what's called UCAS points. And the A-level and the BTEC combined will give them more UCAS points, which means they've got a better chance of getting onto a higher course if they've got more UCAS points to get in. Okay, so some of you have only just arrived, so let me just go back and just recap the main points. This is the summary of what we're talking about, the IBCP, which is the BTEC, 2 DP subjects, and the IBDP core. We also do a mishmash of other qualifications as well to suit all of our different learners at school. You can do a BTEC plus 1 DP subject, a BTEC plus an A-level, a BTEC plus EBQ, and the EPQ stands for Extended Project Qualification, or you can do a BTEC only plus some functional skills such as maths or English if they need to improve those as well. We do a BTEC in business, creative media, performing arts, music production, and sports coaching and development, and there are no exams at all in a BTEC. All this information here was in the prospectus for the post 16 of the different option blocks you can choose, and they're in this PowerPoint, which we'll make available as well. Okay, so the EPQ, as I said, is the Extended Project Qualification. It's an independent research project which gives students the opportunity to do something they're interested in. So whilst they might be doing a BTEC in, for example, business, they might have an interest in, I don't know, space, and they want to do some kind of project on the Mars landing or something like that. This is their ideal opportunity to be able to do that, and it earns them extra UCAS points to help them get into university. And it gives them something else to talk about on the university application if they have to write some kind of letter or in their personal statement, because they've got something else to talk about. And that's really important, especially in the area that we live in. In most countries, students would have part-time jobs, they would do things, and they can't really do that here. So the EPQ gives them something to talk about. It's a 5,000-word written report, so it's no small task. It's done over year 12. We aim to get it finished by the end of year 12. Or they can do something, so create a production, a charity event, something like that, or build something, create something. So it's quite a flexible approach as well. So the IBCP, as I've said, is built up of the BTEC, the 2 diploma subjects, and the core. And these are the 4 core areas of the IBCP that all students have to pass to be able to pass the IBCP. So the first one, the biggest one, is a 3,000-word essay on an ethical dilemma, which is called the Reflective Project. Now, we start that at the end of year 12, and we finish it by hopefully the end of term 1 in year 13. The ethical dilemma is something that's related to their BTEC subject, so it's either media related, sport related, all that kind of thing. And they have to write a 1,000-word reflection. So basically that's looking at the journey that they've had and what they've learned from it. The next one is called PPS. Now, these are lessons that are timetabled on their timetable. PPS stands for Personal and Professional Skills, and that's where we teach the students how to be a member of a business, of an office environment. We look at ethical dilemmas, which is how they learn about the Reflective Project. We look at how to handle conflict. We look at how to deal with different cultures and people that you're working with. The skills that students would learn in an office environment, but we give them a bit of a head start by learning it in a classroom environment first. The way that's assessed is the students give a presentation to myself, because I run the PPS course, about all the different things they've learned. They have different criteria that they have to meet, and they do that presentation to me after they've done all the work in year 12 to show that they've learned all the stuff they need to do and they've met the criteria for the IP to give them the award of their CP core. The next thing is service learning. This is all about how you can help somebody else in your local community, your national community, your international community. The guidance is that students do 50 hours of it over the 2-year course, and it can be anything that they can come up with. So organising a charity event, washing cars, doing something to do with recycling, doing something in your compound. There's lots and lots of different things that students can get involved in. And that's up to them to do. So they drive that. They come up with the ideas, they do it, and they document it all in a system we have called ManageBack, where we just check where they're up to with it. Again, to pass that part of the core, they do a presentation to me and to the CAS and Service Learning Coordinator to show what they've done. So they focus on one of the things that they've done, and they share what they've learned, what experience it gave them, how they'll be able to use it in the future. And some students have done some amazing things. So some have done it when they've been at home in the summer. Someone went to Sri Lanka and helped build a temple. Someone went to Ghana and worked in an orphanage. There's lots and lots of different things. Or it can be one of the girls in year 13 did something to do with recycling oil in her community, and she collected cooking oil from places. So there's lots of different things they can do, and it really does make a huge difference to people as well. They really do grow from doing that opportunity. The last one is the language development. Now, this is part of the IB. The IB are very big on language development and international mindedness. So this is where students learn, either carry on learning a language that they already know, or they start a new language. It can't be their mother tongue language, it has to be something else. And we use a system called Duolingo to be able to go through that process. What the students do is they have lessons timetabled on their timetable every week. They attend the Duolingo lessons online, which is an online service, an online app, and they work through the different parts of it depending on their abilities. So to start with, they do a test if they're doing a language that they already know, and then the system develops work and tests and assessments for them. Run a little test like matching words or creating sentences or whatever it might be. And then to pass that, they do a presentation to their language development teacher to show the progress that they've made, the badges that they've earned on the software, to tell us a bit about the culture of the country that they've been looking at, and share their progress through the 18 months that they've done it. So this is just a little summary now of what I've just said. So the Reflective Project is a 3,000-word essay. It comes from their BTEC course. It promotes high-level research and extended communication skills. Ooh. We show them how to do proper academic writing that they would be expected to do at university, which is something they really do struggle with. It lets them do something that they're passionate about because it's linked to their BTEC and that's their subject of choice. And it encourages them to do something different. It says they're intellectual and discovering. It really does. It gets them thinking about things in a totally different way to what they're used to. PPS is development of the skills for the workplace and really does help students be able to adapt to situations that they're not used to because they're coming from school. Service learning can benefit any community, the local, global, or national community, and it's something that the students drive themselves. They can do it with friends, with parents, with family. Some of them have to be like an extended progress, so it can't be just like a one-off activity. It might be over a couple of months or a term or a year. Some students, like, for example, help out with brownies and guides and that kind of thing, and that counts as service learning. Language development, as I said, we use Duolingo. There are no external exams, so it's not assessed. They don't get any kind of single qualification for it. It's an overall part of the core that they have to show that they've passed, and they create a portfolio as they go through the course of the progress that they've made. And then they put all that together in a presentation at the end of the year. Come on, let's go. Okay, so this is just a summary of the different option blocks that we talked about. So that there is an overview of all of the option blocks. You can see we're at the very bottom, the BTEC courses at the very bottom. Then the A levels are one above, and you can see how those match with the BTECs. And then obviously the DP subjects are at the top. This nice bright pink list is the list of minimum grades. Now I know that we've had some questions about minimum grades before. These are the minimum grades to do DP subjects. So say, for example, your son or daughter wants to do a BTEC in business, and they want to do computer science IB alongside it to make up one of their DP subjects. On there it says that to be able to do computer science, you have to have a level 6 in maths, yeah, to do SL. If your child has a level 4 in maths, we wouldn't let them do computer science IB because they will find it too difficult and they won't be able to progress and achieve in it. Maybe if they're 1 grade below, we can have a look at how far away they were from that grade. But if they're any more than 1 grade below these minimum grades, and that depends on the subject. So say, for example, HL maths, for example, is 1, HL physics, a really challenging subject. If your child hasn't got those minimum requirements, we would not let them go on that course, because we know from experience and from the course content and from advice from the IB that they won't be able to access that course. Now, to do the IBCP, students only have to do the subject at SL level. They don't have to do it at HL level. We do have some students still up to do it at HL level. So for example, visual arts, they tend to do it at HL level. What else have we had? English they do sometimes, but there's no need to. They only have to get a level 3 in an SL subject to pass the CP course. So it really does make no sense making them do a HL version of it, which requires a lot more hours and a lot more time if they don't want to and they don't need to. Some students have a huge interest in it. So that's, for example, why I gave the example of visual arts. The students who are really involved in visual arts find it therapeutic, they like the release, and they go for the HL for it. But it doesn't make any difference to their IBCP qualification. Okay, I've done a few little frequently asked questions here, just things that I thought of whilst I was going through some of the chats as well. So I'll go through these. I think I've got 6. And then I'll open up the chat for any questions you've got on, and open up the screen for any questions that you've got. So the first one, the biggest question we get asked is the IBCP and BTEC recognized in all universities? No, it isn't. So if your student wants to go to Harvard or Oxford or Cambridge, don't do the IBCP or BTEC, because whilst there has been, I think, 1 student got into either Oxford or Cambridge with an IBCP, it's not easy and it's not the recognized way to get in. So if they want to go to a prestigious academic university to do an academic course, the IBCP and BTEC are not the way forward. If your son or daughter wants to do something specific in business, in creative media, in sport, in performing arts, then all the courses that are related to that will recognize the BTEC and the IBCP in most countries. Some countries we have a few problems with, and the Netherlands is one of them with the IBCP, and they don't recognize BTEC at all. What you do need to do is if you're thinking of a certain country or a certain course, do some research now before your student applies to do the courses, the pathways at WSO, to see what the entry requirements are. A lot of universities are flexible when it comes to admissions, and if you speak to them or we get in touch with them and explain what the IBCP is, then students do then get entry. We've had students go to Finland and all sorts of places after we've got in touch with them. But to start with, you need to do a little bit of research, because it is a new qualification. Not all universities recognise it straight away. Our careers counsellor can help you with that information, and students have access to a software called Unifrog, which has all the universities in the world and all the courses. They just type in what they want to do, find the universities, and then it shows them the entry requirements for them. Another popular place that our students like to go is the USA and Canada. Again, the same thing applies. The IBCP and BTEC only are recognised in the US and Canada, not all universities, but some of them. We have currently students in year 13 who've been offered places on lots of courses in America and Canada, and even have been offered scholarships for a couple of them. But what they've had to do is also do the SAT exams to be able to access those courses in America. So they've had to get external help to do the SATs, because we're not an American school, so we don't offer them. They've had to find external help to do the SATs and sit those exams to be able to apply with that mark as well. So they need the SAT score to be able to get into those universities, and then the IBCP or Btech backs it up as their high school graduation. Another popular question is about minimum grades. So I just did a little overview then about the IB diploma subject minimum grades. The way Btech works is there's different levels of it. So there's 4 or 5 different levels depending on the subject, which means that we can alter the size of the qualification to students' abilities and what they want to do. So to be able to get the IBCP qualification, students only need to be able to get the diploma. Now we do the extended diploma, which is a bigger qualification, because if in the end they end up either dropping the CP or they want to apply to a specific universities with high requirements, the extended diploma is the way forward. But what we can do is we can start them from the very beginning on a smaller qualification if we know that they haven't got the GCSE grades to be able to access it. So the Btech extended diploma is a level 3 qualification, just like the IBDP, just like A-levels, and you need 5 GCSEs at 4 or above to be able to access that program. If they don't get those, we know that they're going to struggle with the volume of work, with the level of analysis and evaluation they have to do. So we can give them a smaller qualification, which will still get them into university. It's still a platform to get them into university or into work, but it means that they won't have to struggle quite so much. As it says there, for the A-levels and IB subjects, if you're mixing them together to do the CP or Btech plus A-level, the minimum requirements are there for a reason. If students don't meet them, we know from experience that they're going to find it very, very difficult, and we don't want that to happen. We don't want it to get to December or get to January of year 2 of year 13 and they're failing their exams, because what happens is that all then starts to mount up and the students start to really suffer, and we don't want that to happen. So what we do is we recommend pathways that we know that they're going to enjoy, we know they're going to flourish and succeed in, not put them on a pathway. Say for example, higher level maths needs a 9, if they only got a 5, we would not put them on that course, because we know that A, they're going to find it very, very hard, and B, they're not going to be able to pass it. And that's not how we want them to spend their time. Will the option box or choices change? No. So the way that they were blocked out on that nice little pink diagram, that's how they're going to stay ready for September. Can GCSE Maths and English be resat? Yes, they can. So if your child doesn't pass their Maths or English GCSE, we do recommend that students do resit them. Now they do resits in November. However, because they've had so much time off, usually they've only had the summer off, but obviously because of distance learning, they've had even longer off. We don't usually submit students for resits in November unless there are only a few marks off. If there are a few grades off or quite a few marks off, we give them the year and then they resit in the summer. The reason we do that is because for some university courses, growingly actually, students do still need to have GCSE Maths and English to be able to access those courses as well as their IBDP, IBCP A-levels. So we don't want them to finish year 13 and have failed one of those 2 courses, but still need that qualification. And for example, to be a teacher in the UK, you have to have passed those 2 GCSEs. To work at McDonald's in the UK, you have to have passed those 2 GCSEs. So we do think it's really important that students have got those qualifications behind them. Changes. So can students start on one pathway and change if they don't like it? We give students 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of term, once they get the timetables, to have a think about what they're doing, have a think about what they like and what they don't like. It often happens in DP that they'll swap the SL and the HL subjects. But after those 2 weeks, it then becomes very difficult for the students to catch up on any content they've missed. So after those 2 weeks, they have to stay with the pathway they've chosen. It isn't common for students to choose and to change entire pathways, so from go to DP to CP or CP to DP. It does happen, but imagine there is still a lot of work covered in 2 weeks, then that means they've missed like 30 hours of work. That's an immense amount of work in the subjects. So we need to make sure that we're not making changes and putting them at a disadvantage if they're really behind. So they have the first 2 weeks to have a think about it, see how they find the lessons, talk to the teachers, talk to their friends, talk to the influences that are on their lives and their choices, and make up those choices to see whether they want to change or not. The bottom one is something that we need to make you aware of. So at the minute, the MOE, the Ministry of Education, do not equivalence the IBCP or Btech, so they don't recognise it. They are in the process of doing that, and it's being changed, and we're in talks with them, and they've come up with information, but they haven't yet said that the students who start in September 2020 will be part of that change. So as a school, we would not recommend Emirati children who want to, A, study in a government-funded university here, or B, ever want to work in a government office here to do the IBCP or BTEC, because they are not recognised, and it means that they will not have equivalency to show that they've been in school for the 12 years that they have to do. It does happen that some students have been let in to local universities with the IBCP. We had a student last year, we've had a student this year, but it's very, very difficult. We are in talks with them, as we've said, that the IB company themselves are in talks with them, but at the minute it isn't quite ready. So has anyone got any questions?
Yes, can I ask you please about the language development? What are the options for the languages?
Any language you want. So because it's a software system, we don't have actual teachers that teach it. As far as I know, there's any language you could ever imagine on Duolingo.
Ah, okay, great. Okay, thank you.
So we have students doing Mandarin, we have students doing Italian, we have students doing all sorts of things.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll ask, because it's still related to the language.
Okay.
You said there is, they have to do a presentation to the teacher in charge. Did I get that?
Yeah.
Or did I get it wrong? And who is in charge? For example, if my daughter does Spanish, she cannot get help from the Spanish team. How does it work?
Yeah.
She cannot do the IBDP in Spanish. It's not possible. Or
so you can only do the. It depends which BTEC she chooses as to whether she could do IBDP Spanish. But with the Duolingo, with the language development, they do still get time with a language specialist teacher. So say, for example, this year, Mr. Pownall, for example, does French and Spanish. He had the French and Spanish classes. If they do a language that our teachers don't do, so I don't think we have any Mandarin speakers at school, then no, they wouldn't be able to get any help. But we do cover the modern foreign languages, French, Spanish, Italian, German, Arabic, obviously.
Yeah, so my question, will this be presented to the kids? And if yes, when? At which level?
Okay, so they were presented, so before the Eid break, when the Year 11s were doing their progress checks, and they had a couple of weeks before their timetable started, they were presented to the Year 11s then, so they could opt into them then. So they've had the opportunity, and I ran the session. They've had a separate IBCP and a separate BTEC one already.
Okay, and my daughter is in year 10, that's why. Okay.
Okay. I can speak to our social media people and get it put onto, so there's a YouTube channel. In fact, it is on the YouTube channel. There's some information on the YouTube channel, so I'll get that sent out to you as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Anita's got a question about how will kids be assessed and graded if no exams? Okay, so the way BTEC works is there's 3 levels of progress. There's either a pass level, merit level, or distinction. What happens is a pass is equivalent to about an E at A level, a merit is about a C, and a distinction is about an A. So what the students do is they get their work. So all of the work in a BTEC is built up by units. So for example, the business BTEC has 15 units in. And what the students do is they'll get each assignment. So each unit is built up of smaller assignments. There's usually about 3 assignments in a unit. They'll get their assignment and it will tell them what they need to do to access the pass, to access the merit, and to access the distinction. And the students do their work at whatever level they want to, so they can do the pass, the merit, the distinction. If you want to do distinction, you have to do pass and merit. If you want to do merit, you have to do pass and merit. If you want to do pass, you just do pass. They submit that work and then their teacher marks their work. The work is then internally moderated and verified between different teachers in that department. So for example, I teach business BTEC and Mr. Cook does. We moderate each other's marking to check that we agree with it. And then a verifier comes over from the UK to verify what we've then marked. So they choose random units from random students at pass, merit, and distinction and check that they agree with the marking that we've given them. Then as the students build up the units become points that make prizes, and the unit point scores add up to then give an overall qualification. Now, if they're doing the extended diploma, that gives them 3 letters. So a PPP would be pass, 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 MMM, merit, 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 DDD, distinction, distinction, distinction. And we also have a distinction star, which is like an A star at A level. So if a student in the old spec at the minute, they have to do 17 distinctions out of 18 to get a D star, D star, D star. The new spec's slightly different because each of the BTECs have different grading levels. They build up to be able to get those qualifications. There's also mixtures, so you can have a DDM depending on how many merits, how many passes, and how many distinctions those students get. Okay, so if the biology doesn't match with the sport BTEC, she wouldn't be able to do it. If you need biology qualifications separately to be able to do physiotherapy, then the CP option isn't for you. She would then have I'd have to look on the BTEC one to see if she could do BTEC and let me just get the little sheet up. Hang on. So BTEC sport. So she could do BTEC sport with a group 4, which is with biology. So that's fine. Check the A levels. BTEC sport. And yes, you could do BTEC sport with A-level biology as well. So both of those are options. That's fine. No, nothing is sent to an external exam board. The external exam board come to us. So they fly over from the UK. They spend usually a day with us. They go through our policies, our procedures. And so, for example, we have, say you have 10 students on the course. They'll choose maybe 4 of those units, a pass, a merit, and a distinction of all of those. And they then cross-check all of our markets.
No, I was going to say, so then they don't get to see every child's work. They just do a cross section. So if they're coming over just for a short spell,
they just take a cross section. Yeah, they don't.
Yeah.
So if you've got 18 units of work and 10 students, there's no way. Of
course.
No.
That was my point. Yeah. Thank you.
So they check that we've cross-checked everything. So over the course of the 2 years, well, over the course of every other unit, we would mark every student's work. So we would verify it, but no, the external verifier doesn't see everybody. Right, Lynn, is your student in the UK year 9 or American grade, UK year 12 or American grade 12? UK grade 12. So if you're already in grade 12 and you've already done a grade, you're then moving into moving into year 13 in September, you cannot do biology in a year. That won't happen. No, you couldn't catch that up.
Can I just ask you again with the language development, when do you choose the language? Like, is it when school starts or we have to tell beforehand?
No, just when school starts. So when they come to, really not until they start the language development lesson. So it's timetabled on the timetable. They'll go to the first lesson and then they'll choose what they want to do. So they'll have the opportunity to talk to the teacher, have a talk about what they've done before, what career path they might want to choose, where they might want to study, where they might want to work. And that can help them inform the decision as to which language they would like to do. Okay, guys, if you've got any more questions, I'll just hang on for a bit in case you just want to talk to me. Oh, I've got one there. Is the BTEC course popularly accepted in UK universities? Yes. So the BTEC is a UK qualification. I would say nearly every university, apart from Oxbridge, they'll know what a BTEC is, but they will accept a BTEC. Yes, they will. To be able to access the higher courses, so things like economics, law, that kind of thing, they're going to need the triple D star to be able to get into it. I've got students who are doing finance accounting next year at university. We've got students doing HR, marketing, a wide range of things. And we've got students who've been accepted on triple M's, or we've got a student who's doing the finance who needs a triple D star. So yes, BTECs are absolutely accepted in the UK. And in the UK, you're better off just having a BTEC rather than doing the entire IBCP, because when it comes to university applications, they will only look at the BTEC. So all the other work is a little bit of a waste of time if they're thinking of going to the UK with the BTEC. They're better off focusing on the BTEC, getting that triple D star, doing an EPQ or maybe one DP subject if they've got an interest in something, but they need to do well in that BTEC rather than spread themselves a bit more and do the IBCP.
For the the IBCP subject, do we have to tell the school if he wants to do SL or HL in advance, or
no, on enrollment day is fine. So they just choose on enrollment day, and then we can make sure it's timetable properly, because HL subjects have longer to do it, so they're on a different timetable.
Okay, but then so only in September.
Only in September, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So as long as life is okay-ish and we're allowed back in school, we'll be enrolling students on Monday, the 31st of August and Tuesday, the 1st of September. So they're the 2 days that we've allocated for enrolment. No, I'm not the coordinator of BTEC Performing Arts. I'm the coordinator of all of the BTEC programs. And then the subject specialists are the ones that look after them individually. So I've just popped the name of the Performing Arts, our head of Performing Arts there. Jodie, she's the Acting and Production Arts Program Manager, so she looks after all things production arts. Okay, folks, if there's no more questions, I'll end the call here. I'll find out how to share the recording with you, and the PowerPoint is in there as well. I'll also speak to school about sharing it with year 10s as well, who are starting to obviously think about the choices ready for next year. If you have any more questions, I've popped my email address in the chat. Please do feel free to get in touch. I can answer any questions on the IBCP and the IB and the BTEC courses as a whole. I also teach business, so I know about that, and I can point you in the direction of any of the other course specialisms as well. So thanks for joining us. Have a lovely evening and stay safe. Thank you.